All right, let's just jump straight in. Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're tackling a monster of a topic. Chapter 6, Directing. I've always liked to think about management as a high-performance sports car, right? So planning is designing the vehicle. Organizing is literally putting all the right parts in the right places. Staffing is finding a capable driver. But all of that, completely useless until you put the key in the ignition and actually hit the gas. Directing is that spark. It's the action. So let's get into it.
Here is our game plan for today. We'll start with number 1, what directing actually is. 2, why it's so incredibly important. 3, we'll hit supervision and motivation. 4, leadership and communication. And 5, stick around for this, I'm giving you some high-yield board exam memory tricks. Section 1. What is directing? Putting plans into action. So it's absolutely crucial to establish right out of the gate that all your managerial efforts, your brilliant business plans, the expensive machinery, the talented staff, they're all essentially worthless without proper direction. Direction is the actual process of guiding and supervising your employees to accomplish those predetermined goals. And hey, if you're taking notes right now, absolutely memorize this exact quote by Kuntz and O'Donnell. Board exams literally love precise citations, and this one brilliantly captures the core concept in just a handful of words. It points out that directing isn't some passive state, right? It's an executive function. You're actively guiding, and you're actively observing.
Moving on to Section 2, why directing is important, or as I like to call it, the heart of management.
We know what it is, but honestly, why does it matter? Well, directing is often called the heartbeat of a business. And obviously, without a heartbeat, the rest of the body just shuts down. We have 9 exact points of importance straight from your text, and you should really treat these as your ultimate checklist for those long-form exam answers. The list covers everything from increasing efficiency to motivating employees to coordinating interests. But I want you to really process how these are all intricately linked together. Directing clarifies functions so you can actually assess efficiency. It motivates your team by solving those daily work-related hiccups. But take a close look at point number 9, finding out deviation. Because you're continuously observing, you catch those tiny mistakes early on, well before they spiral into massive corporate disasters. Definitely memorize these 9 points if you want full marks.
All right, Section 3, supervision and motivation, the first 2 pillars.
Let's map out the core framework here. Directing isn't just one isolated action. Think of it more like a living ecosystem made up of 4 massive elements. You can see how they all flow directly from the main concept: supervision, motivation, leadership, and communication. And here's the catch. You cannot effectively direct a team if you're missing even one of these. They work completely together as a system. Let's break down the first 2.
The absolute key here is separating the external from the internal. Supervision is the external act. It's making sure the work is actually being executed exactly how you planned it. Think of the foreman walking the factory floor. Motivation, on the other hand, is a totally internal feeling. It's that psychological spark that makes someone actually want to put in the work. Because, let's be real, you can supervise someone into doing the absolute bare minimum, but you undeniably need motivation to extract their very best.
Let's zoom in on motivation for just a second, because this is huge. I really want to highlight Maslow's hierarchy of needs and the different types of incentives, because these are super high-yield concepts examiners are constantly looking for. Keep in mind, motivation isn't just a one-and-done pep talk. It's a continuous, ongoing process. And when you get it right, your employees are happier, which directly crashes your labor turnover rate. Simply put, fewer people quit. To pull this off, managers really have to tap into Maslow's hierarchy, moving from basic physical survival needs all the way up to self-actualization. And you do this by mixing financial incentives, like cash bonuses, with non-financial ones, like job security or just a simple, hey, great job today.
Which brings us to Section 4, leadership and communication, guiding and exchanging. These final 2 pillars are essentially the tools that let a manager deliver all that motivation we just talked about. Read this one really carefully. Leadership is the art and skill of creating the desire in others. Notice how true leadership isn't about force, and it's definitely not about threats. It's a really subtle art. A boss just says, go, but a true leader says, let's go. It's entirely about influencing people so they willingly and even enthusiastically chase down those business goals.
But here's the thing. A leader literally cannot lead without communication. The contrast between formal and informal communication is a classic, and I mean classic, board exam question. Formal communication is your highly structured stuff. Official memos, strict policy documents, formal warnings. It flows rigidly up and down the official chain of command. Informal communication, that's the water cooler chat. It relies entirely on human relations and friendships, making it super fast and incredibly flexible. The massive takeaway here is that informal communication isn't a replacement for the formal stuff, it perfectly complements it. The best directors absolutely use both.
And just look at how many different ways we actually communicate, from oral discussions and written newsletters to visual charts and audio-visual presentations. But take a close look at that last column, silence. Yeah, silence is an actual method of communication. Think about it. A total lack of response or just a look without any words can speak absolute volumes in a meeting. This wild variety just goes to show why effective communication requires serious, deliberate focus from managers to prevent barriers like mixed signals or a complete lack of trust.
All right, Section 5, Board Exam Memory Tricks, the cheat sheet.
Okay, we have covered a tremendous amount of ground today, so let's give you the exact mental hook you're going to need for test day. When you're sitting there in the exam hall and the paper asks you to list the elements of directing, I want you to immediately think of S for supervision. Remember, this is the physical act of overseeing your employees, ensuring those plans are actually being executed safely and by the book.
Next up is M for motivation. This is all about providing that internal psychological spark we talked about, using both financial and non-financial incentives to keep everyone's engine running with total enthusiasm. Then we've got L for leadership. This is the magnetic quality that influences people. It's the art of guiding your team's desires so they're genuinely following you of their own free will toward those corporate goals.
And finally, C for communication. This is what ensures your clear messages, your instructions, and your feedback are all flowing freely between every level of the company without any of those confusing barriers.
SMLC. I need you to lock SMLC into your memory right now. Supervision, motivation, leadership, communication. Literally write it at the very top of your scratch paper the second you sit down for the exam. This is your absolute, guaranteed framework for recalling the 4 essential elements of directing.
I'm going to leave you with a quick real-world puzzle to test your new mastery. Think about a business you know of that is currently struggling to hit its goals. Are their employees completely uninspired? Well, that's an M problem. Is there zero clear guidance from the top? That's an L problem. Are instructions constantly getting misunderstood? That's definitely a C problem. Apply this SMLC framework, make sure you're totally confident with everything we explored in this explainer, and I promise you're going to be more than ready to completely ace this topic. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and keep studying smart.